And now our host, Stephen Lee Morris.
Venessa, Stewart, and Leo Marks are partners in advocacy for Senate Bill 1116, the latest attempt to get the California government to support through funding the small theater organizations that are in order to make Assembly Bill 5 affordable for them. Leo Marks and Venessa Stewart, welcome back to Animal Farm.
Thank you so much, Stephen.
Happy to be here.
We're here today to, well, we can talk about a number of things, but the primary focus of this is Senate Bill 1116. Did I get that right? SB 1116. However it is said, it is an attempt to help small arts organization in particular afford the mandates of Assembly Bill 5. It's a short version. But how does it work? You had a prior bill, SB 805, that attempted to do it in a different way. That made it through both chambers in Sacramento, both the Senate and the Assembly, and then it was vetoed at the last minute by the governor. There was a lot of there is something fundamentally different about this piece of legislation, and that is, it not only has a new author and a new sponsor, or one of the sponsors is somebody who was supportive of SB 805, but it also has, from the ground level, the endorsement of Actors Equity Association and organized labor, which is huge, huge. That is a shift. That is a fundamental shift. And it is very important. It will be very, very helpful for getting this legislation through. How did that happen and why did it happen? Can you explain that? And then let's get into how the bill works.
So we have a big money ask. We've got $300 million over the course of 3 years. So that's $100 million for each year that the budget would sustain these theaters. And the first time around, we were trying to approach helping theaters in various different ways. And at first, labor was not on board because at first we wanted exemption. At first, we wanted all of these carve outs and things, and that was not appealing.
This was in the rollout of SB 805.
SB 805,
the prior bill, yeah.
Correct. And so eventually we got to the realization that obviously we wanted labor on board, but in order to do it, we all had to, sort of face the same direction. They wanted actors to be employees. We wanted actors to be employees, but had to get on the same page of help us, help you, help us, help each other, right? And so, okay, fine, we're all on the same board. You got to help us then. If we're going to make actors employees, then we have to up the, I guess, then we used to think of them as subsidies. We used to think of them as getting the arts funding to the place where these small theaters could do the thing that could make actors employees and help all of these small theaters. And so for that, we needed funding. And we realized that we were one of the lowest funded states per capita in the entire country, which is crazy to think because people think of California as so aggressive in arts funding, but we're not. So once we realized all these things, we were a little bit late to the game. So we were behind the budget ask. We were behind asking labor to come on board with us. But during that time, we started having conversations with labor.
Is it a fair assumption that there was sort of, well, this is a happy story. This is a happy story. This is amending offenses.
Yeah.
Because there was a breakdown of trust because the initial position of the of your advocates was that you wanted to carve out like the musicians union gave their members. And many musicians work one-night gigs, and they said the burden of being an employee for those venues was just was too much. And the musicians union recognized that, and so granted that. And you initially made those same noises, and labor was very put off by that.
Absolutely.
And then you changed strategies, as you mentioned, and then there was still, they didn't quite believe you. So something happened where they now really believe that you're not out to do anything nefarious.
As you say, we had to mend fences, and we started having sort of behind the scenes conversations, and Leo, was a part of that, to help us have, I guess you could say back channel conversations with higher ups. We have relationships with people in labor, and Leo, I don't want to speak for you, but he's a delegate for Actors Equity, and we were like, listen, trust us, like we want the same thing,
So how did it work on your end, Leo?
It was a lot of it was about getting in touch with Kate Schindel, the Actors Equity president, roping her into these conversations, which she was very happy to be part of, and I think she had said, throughout the Pro 99 wars of yore, and she had always been about, if there's a way I can get actors paid, I'm for that. Separate from the questions of Pro 99 about volunteerism, forget about all that. Like, one area where I think people in LA who really value local theater, small theater, we still want to get paid. It was one of the things we were always saying is one of the mystifying things to people on the East Coast was like, why doesn't anybody in LA want to get paid? And it's like, no.
There's no money.
We definitely want to get paid. We want to get on stages. We want to get paid. When those things can go together, life is beautiful. And here's a situation where we're saying, hey, there's a budget surplus. There's willingness
in the state assembly, in the state of California.
State of California budget surplus. Yeah, exactly. And if we could make a good case to tap into that, we could create a grant program that applies to small theaters and get workers, and not just actors, workers in theaters, and not just theaters, performing arts organizations, operas, dance companies, paid. That's something like, talk about facing the same direction. We're excited about that. And I think what built the trust was realizing, I think in equity representatives sitting down with LA producers, and hearing how they talk about the people they work with, and hearing their goals and how they think about moving forward as organizations, realizing these are not the bad guys. These are not fat cat Broadway.
That was the framing.
Producers.
That was the framing in those years of yore, and it was so painful and so destructive. So it is such a pleasure to hear that this may be ancient history now.
I think so. I think a serious corner has been turned.
It was a wonderful thing, as many people know, I was a plaintiff, in the ASDR versus AEA. And for me to come full circle and sit down, with Kate Schindel and a mea culpa, and for us to be like, how do we come together and do this? She's got goals, workman's comp was like a big goal for her, personally. And for me, it's just making sure that theaters survive and that emerging artists have a venue to start from. How can we work together to make sure all of these things happen? And it's weird that people that were so adversarial could come together for a common cause.
If only we can do this in the country,
Well, yes, on so many levels. The story that Venessa doesn't tell often enough is that, and I can tell it because I wasn't part of this initially. I glommed onto it at a later stage. This is such a story of democracy working. Yeah. This is just a group of people who are like, we have a funding problem. And we also have a funding opportunity, and maybe we could put those things together and create a grant program. But just starting without insiderness, certainly without money, without organization, without real experience, although I'm sure in various ways people brought their experience, but really kind of just saying, what if we did this and learned how to do it as we went? That's my observation. That's my sense of it.
Yeah,
from-
well, no, we were so the little guys, and we were so like, how do we do this? And like learning along the way. And now
you did make some mistakes, and that probably did jeopardize SB 805.
oh, we
I-
were very late to many goals, you know,
Yeah.
'cause we had so much to learn, you know, and now we have built this coalition, and for our first hearing, you know, we came out of the labor committee,
Yes.
and I don't know if, but it was like, there were no calls of opposition. We had like many beautiful calls, like of people calling in, when that is not something that we experienced the first time. You know, we sailed out of the labor committee, and it was so invigorating to see the coalition come together and to be able to have now, you know, the tools that we need to make it bigger.
This is the Labor Committee in the Senate. Now has to go to what? The Budget Committee in the Senate?
Yeah, we have to get our budget, and we got to go to appropriations.
Appropriations, yes.
Yeah.
And then you have to do the same thing in the House.
Yeah,
And
we've also sailed through the small business committee.
That's right.
So we've made it through 2 committees so far.
Correct. Okay, so what is this bill, and how, if it's relevant, because otherwise this is going to get ridiculously in the weeds, just how does this bill work? And if relevant, how does it differ from SB 805?
All right, I will try to explain it in layman's terms, and then maybe Leo can explain it in his layman's terms. The way that, to me, it's different than 805. Before, it was forward-facing grants, and now it's reimbursements. And there are tranches of, depending on what your, you know, you have the 3-year annual budget of what your theater makes, or what your performing arts company makes. And you can send in what your budget was, and you get reimbursed. Depending on what that budget is, you get reimbursed a certain percentage of what you made. And
forgive me, there's just a little demon sitting on my shoulder. This demon is very skeptical and says, this is the state of California.
Right.
Reimbursements. Right. That could happen in like 4 years later. How do you make sure this is timely, and that the theaters don't collapse while they're waiting for their reimbursements?
One thing we're working on is bridge loans. That's not in place yet, but that's a goal, is to set up bridge loans on that basis. I think we're very optimistic that, you know, we'll be able to do that with the state of California backing it, so that timing, and what I mean by that is, maybe everybody knows it. I know myself, but that you get once you apply and you're eligible and you're told you're going to get this grant, you can get a loan from a bank based on that says, here's the money you'll get from the state of California later.
Very good.
You can have it now.
Yeah, that's a good answer.
Now, to be clear, that's not in place yet, but that's the
And
idea, and I think it will happen. Go ahead.
our Senator Portantino is, you know, really knows what he's doing, and has a lot
Senator
of
Portantino is the author or the okay.
Yeah, he's the person bringing it forward for 116.
And
So
Susan Rubio is a sponsor or a co-author?
She's a co-author.
Okay.
So, I mean, you know, the super simple version, it's a grant program. If you're a theater whose budget is under $2 million, and sorry, not just a theater, a small nonprofit performing arts organization. So, and that can, performing arts is a broader umbrella than theaters, and across the state, if your annual budget is under $2 million, you're not paying people as independent contractors, you are eligible, and you apply, and you get a percentage of your payroll reimbursed. That's it. And the smaller your budget, your annual operating budget, the higher a percentage of your payroll gets reimbursed.
Oh, that's
so if you're tiny, you get 80% of your payroll reimbursed up to a certain amount. There's a cap, but
it's designed to help the little guys and to help the underprivileged theaters survive and grow.
Because Geffen, which I think is, for instance, their budget is
they're
not going to be. But let's say they fall under the thing. For them to do a play with 4 actors is a very different impact from Playwrights Arena doing a play with 4 actors.
That's right.
Exactly. The entire thing was designed. I think the reason why Equity endorses it is because it is designed to grow these smaller theaters into bigger theaters. And we hope that we have such an impact over the course of 3 years that this becomes a regular thing that we as a coalition can go back and ask for again. And this just becomes part of the annual budget of California to subsidize the arts and to make sure that we have a very healthy theater system in California.
I think that's the other big thing that has shifted, Stephen, is our understanding of what our best arguments actually are, our own understanding of what the impact of this actually is, that this isn't just about helping out theaters, that this is about making investments in little economic communities, that this money that it is literally an investment, that it supports jobs.
What has been the strongest argument politically for this legislation? Because there are many. There's giving people an artistic home, and the state can say, very nice, you can do an artistic home on your dime, thank you very much. But when you're talking about financial investment and the way it supports local businesses, for instance, restaurants, bars, and those audiences attend, which are the arguments that are playing?
I think you nailed it. I mean, I think labor's on board, and I think the sort of momentum that it has is because we realized, oh, this is a jobs bill. This isn't Be Nice to Theaters bill.
Yes.
This is a jobs bill. It's an equity bill. It's a community bill.
Jobs, equity, community. That's what we're trying to push with this. Yeah. We got our sound bite down, you know.
Right. I'm totally giving you some hashtags there, but that really is what it's about.
Took you long enough, geez.
Yeah.
Okay. But no, it's true. I mean, you know, Martha and Beatrice have done a really good job, like figuring out.
This is Martha Dempson and Beatrice Casagran, for people who don't know. Martha Dempson runs the Open Fist Theatre Company. Beatrice Casagran runs Ophelia's Jump in Upland.
And they are data queens, and they can give you the specific numbers of what the jobs equity community numbers look like when you invest in small theaters in any bubble of theater community. I wish I had those numbers on hand right now, but they would tell you they are significant. They're significant. Oh, Leo, do you have them? You're just
the average. I'm just speaking off the top of my head. The average nonprofit live arts attendee spends another $31.47 beyond the cost of admission, nationally, audience spending supports 2.3 million jobs.
This is CAC has this data. Americans for the Arts has this data. I think even the Wallace Foundation might have this data too. Yeah. So this is
part of our message.
Yeah, it's pretty remedial, and yet it's never in the past. When theaters go to get money, it's never persuasive. But when a community goes to get money, it's a different story, isn't it? It's a different narrative.
Yeah.
Wow. And so what is next? You got to go to appropriations, and then you go to the assembly, and hopefully Governor Newsom will.
It's like that. The assembly, the Senate, you know, all the hoops we jumped through last time, and hoping though with labor on our side that by the time we have to get the budget, like that's the most important thing. That's what all our letters are for right now. We need people to ask them, send letters to say, please fund this bill. Please fund $300 million. That is the most important thing right now. And
Plan B, you come back and they say, well, we'll give you 150 million for 3 years. What do you do? Because you know that's how these things go.
Yeah, we know. I mean, listen, we roll with what we have, but we really have to make a strong case for why 300 is the right number. We've done all the research on that. And if it winds up being $150, we do the research on $150 and what that does and what that does not do. And then we come back to them and we fund the rest of it in a trailer bill.
So question kind of who gets, if you don't get the 300 million, unless fingers crossed you do, but if it comes up short a little bit, but it's still viable, who gets left behind, or does anybody get left behind? How does it get, is it the percentages go? You said the percentages change and you only get 40% of your budget rather than the 80% if you're a tiny organization, something like that? Or
it's trying to be an equitable bill. So it's, there's no way that we would want the funding to run out for people. So, this is probably a Beatrice question, but I think it would just be like a smaller percentage, as you say.
Yeah, I mean, we'd have to put our heads together. I mean, it exists the way it does because of the perceived need, and the perceived pool of applicants, and we want it to be available. It's really, really, really important to the coalition doing this, that this not be another way for sort of the most established, even the most established small budget under 2 million. There's still a big difference if you've got a sub $2 million budget from if you've got a $50,000 budget, and
right.
There's a tiny organization, and we want them to have access. So that's a big consideration, is how do we make sure that you can get some instruction, that you can have somebody guide you, that there's a way for you to access this, no matter what your size. This cannot be another way to sort of instantiate existing structures. We want it to lift up the smallest. So if we have to adjust based on reality, we'll adjust based on reality. But we're not.
Small theaters.
We don't really have a solid plan B because we really are aiming for.
Yeah.
We're not retreating right now.
I understand. It's an annoying question, I admit, but that's. Yeah, the smaller theaters, they bring people too, and they feed the local economy as much as the larger theaters do, especially if they're bringing in 100 people a night, if that's the size.
Emerging artists need all places to start.
Yeah.
Somebody's got to start somewhere. I had to start somewhere, and so everybody needs.
Well, that's the other argument. That's the different from. That's different from the it's good for the local economy argument. That's let's help artists. I'm wondering, that will play very well within the theater community. Does that play in the legislature, or have you learned through the months and travails of trying to get SB 805 that maybe just save that for personal conversations and the theater community, and let the business and the numbers arguments work for the legislature?
It's funny. I feel like, now the coalition has a bunch of talking heads for each kind of argument. I would definitely be the talking head for the emerging artist argument. So, but we also have people there that are talking about the restaurants and the local businesses. So.
But I think that maybe what I think of as the sort of legislature relevant argument is just a different lens on the emerging artists. It's about access to jobs in your career, right? Yeah. So there's a very natural, very real argument for equity. This is a field that can be is exclusive. On-ramps are hard to find. A job in a small theater is an on-ramp. And so you don't have to be an arts lover. You don't have to care about theater for its own sake to just recognize, oh, this is in fact a jobs sector. This is an on-ramp for people who might not otherwise have one.
Yeah, very interesting. Good. Venessa, you're leaving us to go to Alabama, is that correct?
Oh, Atlanta. Be a better jobs market. there's already, but you're going to fight the good fight. Well, so what's the timing on this legislation related to your movement across the country? I will still help from the East Coast, but it's looking like it's going to push into early fall to get on the governor's desk. But that
was the question. Yeah.
But we'll have some substantial movement for that.
We've set this up today as an intervention Vanessa, to keep you from going. LA needs you. It's not too late. Please stay. Please. We're asking you.
You didn't hear about Atlanta. You didn't hear the news?
Oh no! What's the news?
It's not there anymore.
Oh, no,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
Well,
Yeah.
I guess I'm
Looks
stuck.
like you're staying.
It moved
Yay.
to Florida, so Atlanta moved.
Oh, no, not going to Florida.
Yeah,
My
so
vote could help.
It's really a loss. It is really a loss,
it really is.
Vanessa.
Oh, I will miss you both, but hopefully there will be a going away party. I can see you both soon.
Yes.
We'll throw it ourselves if worse comes to worse. Well, that's what we'll do. Vanessa, Stewart, and Leo Marks, thank you so much for joining us. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for keeping your focus on this.
Yes, thank you so much for always being a champion of LA theater.
My
Yeah.
pleasure. Actor Chris Garrett was performing on The Price of Right and won a refrigerator. It came with a wooden pallet, which he tried to give away on Facebook Marketplace. What ensued was a series of interactions with potential customers, and the word in customers has to be in air quotes because he wasn't selling it, he was merely giving it away, and they were asking all kinds of questions about the quality of the wood, the color of the wood, does it smell, and all that stuff. And he found the entire situation so absurd, he used his sketch comedy roots and devised a dramatization of these conversations in which he played all of the roles. He posted one of these sketches on TikTok, didn't think much about it, went to bed the next morning. He woke up to discover it had gotten 1.5 million views. Chris Garrett now has a following on TikTok of 702,000 people. Chris is an actor. He was born in Orange County. He performed on Broadway, off Broadway, returned to Southern California after living for some time in New York, where he discovered the Groundlings, joined the Groundlings, and was invited to join their A company. And Chris will be talking about the capriciousness of success on TikTok when he joins us next week.
If you enjoy Animal Farm, please support us on Patreon.